since you have a background training DHS agents, which is the P. Diddy investigation, the raids, the end of March. As I mentioned, I have friends in DHS and they don't have anything to do with the case, but their office is investigating it. Mm-hmm. And they told me, they said, the mood around the office is very jovial and it feels like when we got El Chapo or when we got R. Kelly.
So I've been commenting on this since day one. I am actually one of the original consultants on the Department of Homeland Security Blue campaign. I'm a globally recognized expert on trafficking schemes, not sex trafficking, but human trafficking in all forms. And as I have said, this case, and I have actually been the expert witness in high profile cases involving high profile individuals. This case was very methodical. There is Homeland Security, then there's Homeland Security Investigations, HSI. That is a very unique and specific unit. That is not the same as when people say, I'm DHS Flexi. So the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. A lot of people then, when they say Homeland Security, they don't know that there are different segments of it. No, we don't all know each other. We don't always all talk. But the HSI component, I'm very connected to with folks and things not connected to this investigation. But clearly, they did not execute a federal warrant, multiple jurisdictions in the manner in which they did with HSI as the lead, because that's a very unique unit, like I said, without knowing that they got what they got and they were going to get additional stuff. So this is not a new investigation.
Yeah.
Sean Diddy Combs' name has come up in other investigations. Mm-hmm. I know because I have worked some of those where his name has come up in those investigations. His name, along with other people's names that you see. When they went in, I know there were a lot of, and not to sound racist, there were a lot of Black people that were saying, oh my God, if he was white, this wouldn't have happened this way. They had tanks and everything. They went in and did what they did based on the information that they had. This was not supposition. This was not a guess. This was very organized, very coordinated, very planned out, very detailed. They went in looking for very specific things. Whatever they found that was available out in public, they can grab. But they went in for a reason. They have so much video evidence to go through right now. There is tons of it. And as somebody who has watched reels and reels and reels, you want to be correct more than you want to be fast. This is happening. That's what I have said. My exact words. Oh, this is happening. There will be an indictment. There will be a lot of people. There should be a lot of people who are very worried right now. I'm not just talking about the high profile, folks, but anyone who could have been potentially been caught on those cameras at any given time over the course of decades, they should be concerned. These allegations are not new. They are nuanced. Even the millions of dollars, this wasn't a trigger from what happened when he settled that lawsuit, because I believe Diddy has been under surveillance and investigation since R. Kelly and other things. The same way with Cuba Gooding Jr. If you notice, Cuba had some other cases that started coming to light. Mm-hmm. This is a culmination of trafficking, exploitation, and not just sex trafficking, because there are a lot of elements that you have to prove when the person is not a child. So then they have to go back and look at all of those crucial elements of a person's testimony, if and when you can. But if not, you need to be able to move forward without all of that. Is Diddy going down? Yes. I think Diddy is going down. And what I said probably a week or two ago on Court TV was, when they roll the reels, it's going to get real. And then the video came out. So the video, what that does is that substantiates, even though it's too far, with the and for it to be charged in the same way, it establishes a pattern and practice of behavior that can then be solidified through video as truth. And then you have another allegation and you have more. So what they have to do is separate facts from fiction, those that want to become famous from all of that, and then get down to what's real. Because this is the federal government, like I said, does not play. They got time, they got money, but they also don't play when it comes to prosecution of cases. They want to build a solid case. And then there's also a lot of players involved. So, you've got local police, you've got to see what they have. If they've done any type of investigations, you want to look at that. You want to look at all of the other partners, because you see HSI, but then there's the FBI. Then you have postal services, because you're looking, and I know a lot of people forget, all of that comes into play. So there are people there from the IRS. There are people there from the postal office. There are people there from the FBI. There are people there from every facet of federal agency that can be connected potentially to any type of crime, from transportation to everything. That's a lot. So do it well, do it right, and they're not focused on public opinion.
It's a serious thing. One of the things that I don't think a lot of people understand is, and what is a bright spot for law enforcement, is people like Diddy, or what Diddy's being accused of, or people who are violators of these things. They are also collectors.
Mm-hmm.
They are collectors. They save everything because they want to see it. They want to revisit those moments. It's part of their manipulation and the way that and their control. They want to relive those moments, as you see with, CSAM and things of that nature, because they want to have that and share that.
Yeah, you're right. The collection of material is really high value, and it is really, really important. And it also allows you to identify, you have those that come forward, but there's always so many that never say a word. And, trying to find them. When you talk about child sexual abuse material, and, I do those cases too. Those are very, very difficult cases, not just on the victims. And, people want them to go fast, but they are very difficult when you're having to go through all of the material to create the narrative, to ask the questions, so they are collectors. They like their souvenirs, and their souvenirs have long threads of history. And I'll say this really quick. You understand this as a survivor of harm. You don't want to, at some point, you don't want to be a victim anymore. You want to be not even a survivor. You just want to be yourself.
Correct.
And so there's so many stages. And when this material is out there and live, those that are the collectors get to re-victimize the individuals. But those that are the receivers of this information, who share and see and then share and see, that keeps people in survivor mode. Because we said this earlier, you could be doing really well and then something happens. So for those that have survived P. Diddy and all of these other folks, this is that whiplash, that thing that comes back to you years later when you thought that you were well beyond it, and then you find out, wait a minute, there's a video. So in some of my trainings, I have those words. What if there was no video?
Yeah.
You see that silence that happened just there between you and I? That's what it would be. But then when there is a video, and then we just started talking, that's what happens.
Yeah, and then the video, a lot of people were very mixed about it being released and people sharing it and everything, but it also seemed to prompt more people to come out of the woodwork and file more lawsuits. And also the public sentiment then turns to like, oh, this is a bad guy. This isn't just, he isn't a victim. He isn't, he's, obviously assassinated everyone's character down the line of trying to take advantage of him because he's the victim, much like any good psychopath or narcissist does. They're always the victim.
I do have to say, I am on the opposite side of one area that many people are. Just like in R. Kelly, I actually commented on that. I had stories in the news magazines about that when people didn't play his music. So, R. Kelly, big black radio stations, they stopped playing the music and different things like people stopped listening to it. It doesn't, the behaviors of these individuals doesn't make them any less um, good at what they did, their craft, right? Um, and the reason why I'm on the other side of not playing, when people are not playing the music and they are not involved in, and they are not getting the hits and things like that, they're not making money. Not making money for themselves. There are a ton of victims that need the financial support and the resources. So any money is not being made by the individual who is now incarcerated. That money is then, can be used by the mountless, the voluminous amount of victims for their long-term recovery, because it would go into, there is a victims compensation fund. And the local police have, the local district attorneys have victims witness people, and then the states have the victims compensate. There's a victims compensation commission in every state in the United States, right? At the federal level, there is a victims witness coordinator. So all of the United States Attorney's Office, they have one, or they share one. And they work, with the FBI, who does the investigations, the U.S. Attorney's Office, who does the prosecution. So they coordinate resources, services, and support for victims of crime, victims of these cases, and having that money is then anything that they have, becomes consumable and executable for resources for individuals in these cases. And so having those resources really allows them to do more. So when people are saying don't play the music, well, that's they're not getting the money. Yeah. So because anything that can be tied to the ill-gotten gains of their crimes, then it becomes part of their what is
Compensated.
seizable by the federal government. So,
That's a great point. That's a great point that's how that works. That, because I've even said things like that to people. Like, I don't want to hear that.
yeah. Okay. So the search and seizure. So there's a search. They call it the search and seizure. So there's a search, and then there's a seizure where you determine what all of the gains and everything were. So we don't want to. People say the music. People have a lot of different views about music and all of these other things.
Yeah.
They did what they did. They are the artists that they were the artists. They're still the criminals that they are. But and they committed the crimes that they committed. But don't do anything to take away from the benefit of the victims, not just the ones that you know about, but those that have the potential to come forward in the future and their families.
That's great. That's great insight. I've never heard anyone explain it like that, and you wouldn't think about it. And that's, I think, people maybe trying to be sensitive, but also, that this goes to benefit those who were victimized, and the survivors, and that's wonderful. A wonderful thing.
Most of the time, people are not. Remember, I've done this work from the ground up, so I have had the opportunity to work to understand victims. I've worked with Victims Compensation Commission in various states. I understand there's a process, and this is not just for these particular cases. These are in homicide cases and other things, help with burial, to help with cleanup. When there's a homicide at somebody's house, people don't know that part of the things that the Victims Compensation Commission can do is to help send someone out to do the cleanup of the crime scene, which is still some people's home. Otherwise, I don't know how people think this gets done, but the family is often responsible for that. So I get down, my work and my lens has always been to do this and to bring it down so people can understand. And I'm glad I had the opportunity to really kind of talk about that more fully. You don't need to cut off the resources that are necessary to help others later on. Yeah. You got to think this is a long game.
Yeah,
you and I know what a long game looks
Yeah.
like. When
Yes.
you are a survivor of this kind of stuff, you and I know what a long game looks like.
Yes, we
It's
do.
not those quick resources that people think, oh yeah, well they've got a couple of dollars and they're going to heal. And yeah, therapy costs a lot and it takes a
Yeah.
long time. You can go in and out. You know what I'm saying. So I
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure that I said that I had the opportunity to say that particular thing to your audience so others can understand what the facts are. See, evidence and facts and reality matter. So thank you for the opportunity to allow me to say that.
Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, check out this one right here or this one right here. And don't forget to like and subscribe. On that note, I'm Collier Landry. I'll see you on the next one.